Names and formulas of chemical compounds. Nomenclature just means naming. Also known as, I wish I'd learned my ions. First thing we're going to have to understand is there's a whole lot of different types. There's 4 types of compounds with 4 different sets of rules on how to name and write formulas. So before we can even begin to write names and formulas for anything, we're going to have to figure out which set of rules to use. So this first bullet point in the outline here deals with how we're going to do that. So the rules. They're different for different types of compounds. First thing you want to do is to identify what type you are working with by looking at the first element in the formula or name. If this is a metal, then of course, as you know, is it ionic or covalent? If you have a metal in it, it's got to be, that's right, ionic. And ionics fall into 2 classes. We haven't talked about this yet. This is new. They either type 1 or type 2. Type 1 ionic compounds are made from fixed charge cations. A cation is, of course, a positive ion. It's got a little plus in the middle of it, you know. Now, what does it mean to be fixed? Well, these are, of course, positive ions whose charge never changes. That's what it means to be fixed. It's fixed. It's fixed in place. It can't move. Now, how will you know whether or not these ions are fixed charge or not? Well, it's pretty simple for you. They are fixed charge if they are on your ion sheet. So if you're ever not sure if something's fixed charge positive ion or not, just see if it's on your ion sheet. Type 2 ionic compounds are just the opposite. They're made from ions whose charge can change. We call these variable charge cations, which of course means that their charge can change. So you can't memorize type 2 charges, so of course they're not on your ion sheet. So that's the main thing. Does it start with a metal? If so, is that metal on your ion sheet? If it is, it's type 1. If it's not, it's type 2. Second option, of course, is if it's not a metal, it could be a non-metal. That first thing on your compound is a non-metal, then we call it a covalent molecular thing. It is a type 3. And type 3 has its own little set of rules. We'll learn those later. And the last thing is, if it is hydrogen, if it's not really a metal or a non-metal, because hydrogen's sort of special, then it is an acid. If the first thing in the formula is hydrogen, then it's an acid. So we're going to go through here and see if we can't determine the types for this set of molecules. Well, this first one's easy. It starts with hydrogen, and I just said that anything that starts with hydrogen is an acid. So that first one is an acid. And I'll just symbolize that by, whoa, what's going on there? There we go. I'll just symbolize that by writing A. The second guy there, NaNO3. If we look at the first element there, that's Na. Na is a positive ion, so it's a metal, and it's also on your ion sheet, so that one is a type 1. That's an acid. That's a type 1. Next we get to NO2. NO2 is, if we check out the periodic table, the N, the first thing we look at is N. N is right here. Our metal non-metal line is right there, so this is clearly a non-metal, which makes that a type 3. So this would be a type 3. not NO2 would be a type 3. CCl4, start with, I'll come back. I'm not going to do that one. I'll leave that one for you. Let's look at MnO. Let's look at this one right here. MnO, Mn, manganese. You may or may not know much about that, so you might want to go look it up. Manganese is right here, so it's to the left of our metal-nonmetal line, so it's clearly a metal, which makes it a cation, so it's a type 1 or 2. So this is why it's so good to know your ions, because you'll be like, well, Mn permanganate, MnO4, is on our ion sheet, but that is not a cation. That's not what we're talking about. We just mean, is manganese just regular old manganese, Mn, on your ion sheet? And it is not. So it is a metal. It's not on our ion sheet, so that would make that particular compound a type 3. I'm sorry, I just said it wrong. That was a type 2. So of the ones that we did, and I'm going to leave some of these for you to try here in a minute. That would be an acid. That's a type 1. That's a type 3. And I believe we did the immuno. So that's one example of all 4 types. And I'll leave the others. See if you can't do those